So, for those of you who don't know what you're looking at, this is my new distro. I've never really liked Ubuntu in the entire time I've been using Linux, and the main version of Linux Mint runs on top of Ubuntu. Now, they made the Debian edition for the eventuality that if Ubuntu got too complicated and went down a road they didn't like, they could just switch over to a Debian base. I honestly prefer the Debian base. It's just me. But one of the things I really like is I added the MX Linux repositories. And one of the reasons is because WaterFox is in the repositories. It's not exactly the easiest thing to install something from a tar file, and so that this being in the repos is actually really great. This is based off of, I want to say 68 or 69, Firefox 68 or 69. It is essentially just Firefox without any of the privacy shit installed. So it has no telemetry or anything like that, so it is a much more privacy-focused version of Firefox. My bank does give me shit because it's 4 or 5 versions outdated. So one of the things I do to be more private on my desktop and not have like companies track me and shit is I have DuckDuckGo for my search engine. It doesn't track anything you do. There's actually a thing here that tells you. They don't store your information. They don't follow you around with ads. They don't track you in private mode or whatever. And then there's an extension here that rates the website you're on. I have uBlock Origin. I have the Electronic Frontier Foundation's Privacy Badger. I have WebRTC disabled. I have HTTPS everywhere, and I have decentralized, which basically stops a web page from redirecting me. So privacy is very easy to achieve on your computer. Just install a Linux distro that doesn't have telemetry, like Linux Mint. Put a password so when you boot up your computer, you have a password that needs to be put in before it can boot, and then have a separate password to get into your desktop environment for your user account. However, on mobile devices, like, say, your phone, it is kind of a different story. Now, I actually just upgraded to Lineage OS 17.1, and it's based off Android 10, so there's that. But there has been a problem with using Lineage, and let's go to their webpage. So this is Lineage OS's webpage. Overall, it's a really good distro. I don't have Google's apps or any of their shit. There's no Google involved in this whatsoever, which means there's no Google Play Store. So naturally, I have to use F-Droid, which is this right here. And everything here is open source. Now, there is a way to get Google Play apps without using the Google Play Store, and that is using Aurora Store. Now, originally this was working when I first started using it about a year ago. It no longer works. It crashes upon trying to open, and so I've given up. And it's shit like this that you just have to deal with, where there's a lot of things that don't work. A lot of apps that, like eBay, that need Google's Play shit. Well, Google's Play shit doesn't exist, so the app doesn't work. There's fucking error messages in Vivaldi because there's no Google Play service. It works just fine, but it's going to give you an error message. Same thing with Burger King's app. It works fine, but it's going to give you an error message. So unfortunately, there's no solid option on mobile to really replace Android or iOS right now. It is very usable to use Lineage. Don't get me wrong, like I've been using this for years, my daily driver, it works just fine. But there are some things you have to take into account, like some apps just aren't going to work. Most web pages, like Twitter, you can use a mobile web browser for. You don't need the app, so I actually placed an order using Wendy's, not mobile app, but on their web page on the web browser. So McDonald's doesn't let you do that, though, unfortunately. You have to use their app, and their app fucking sucks, even on basic Android. Like, I've literally been standing inside the fucking store, and my order wouldn't go through because I'm not near the McDonald's, even though I'm standing inside the fucking store. So, it comes down to the fact that the Google Play Store is just fucking full of malware right now. There's a lot of fucking issues with it. You got the obvious privacy concerns, and then you have iOS, which is, yeah, it's more private, but it's fucking Apple, and, you know, that kind of curtails a whole fucking other thing that you don't want to go down. Which is one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to the Pine phone. But let's be clear, like, Android on phones, not Android on phones, Linux on phones, isn't exactly the best right now. A few of them are usable. So I have an old OnePlus One here. I have USB ports put on it instead of Android, so this is Linux. This is based off Ubuntu. Give me a minute to boot up and I'll show it to you guys. So that's the loading screen. Yeah, see if I do that. So basically, there's this stupid fucking thing. This is way too bright. Actually, if I turn down the brightness for a second, maybe. No, that didn't fix shit. It just made it difficult to see me. I don't know. But it's, maybe if I turn on the brightness here. I was having a problem earlier where I couldn't connect to, okay, there's brightness. Okay, so that's better. So, I was having a problem earlier where I couldn't connect to the network. It's working now, but as you can see here, you have notifications, keyboard layouts, location, Bluetooth, network, whatnot, sound, everything. Everything works, and it's basically the same, if I can get this to focus, it's basically the same kind of drag drop on Android. But where it gets kind of difficult is hang on a second. If I open a browser, for example, so the way you switch between apps, there's no back button. You have to kind of go in from the side here. And sometimes that works, sometimes not so much. I have used this as a daily driver for a week, and USB ports is pretty stable. There are some errors, but you, on at least on Lineage, because it is based off Android, you do have the option of F-Droid. there is no fucking app store for, not really, for Linux on phones right now. Everything's gonna have to go through the web browser. Sailfish actually does let you use Android, but it's not available in America. You'd have to trick their website into thinking you are using a VPN just to buy it. And even then, that's kind of a stretch and questionable. So, the point of this video, I'm going to wrap this up actually, is it's very easy to, just like the title suggests, it's very easy to achieve privacy on your fucking computer. Especially when you consider, all the shit that's going on with Microsoft Windows 10 and all the spyware and shit baked into the operating system. And not even just that. If you look at gaming keyboards, for example, from Corsair or Razer, and you look at the software needed to power the backlights, there's a keylogger built into the fucking software. So not only is there a keylogger built into the operating system of Windows 10, so what a keylogger is every time you press something on your keyboard, that gets sent to Microsoft. Well, now there's a keylogger built into the software on your keyboard software. So now it's getting sent to Corsair or whoever your keyboard's made from. There are ways around that. Like if you use Linux, for example, there's not that. I forget the name of it. CKB. That was it. Okay. So, on Linux, you can use CKB. Next. So, basically, this is an open source driver for Linux or Mac OS for your keyboards. And there's no spyware or anything involved in it. And then for Razer, there's OpenRazer, which basically same thing. I think this is just for Linux though. It's not going to be available on, yeah, it's just for Linux here. So Linux is your best bet, but if you use a Corsair keyboard and you're already in the Apple ecosystem, why am I doing that? I would suggest going to Apple or Linux at this point, preferably Linux, just because it's much more open, and you can actually not have to. The way Apple's going is with their proprietary even CPUs, Hackintoshes aren't going to be possible, so I would honestly prefer people switch to Linux just because of that, and it's just a better operating system in my opinion. But even with, the PinePhone and the Librem 5 and Sony Xperia line can work with Sailfish as well. So the Sony Xperia X and the new 10, whatever it's called, from Sony. There are options for more privacy in the mobile space, but it's not really that competitive. You are giving up, App Store support. You're not going to have fucking Candy Crush or any of that shit. But I would say for the most part, I've never really been big on mobile gaming, so I don't really give a shit. But anything I need to do on mobile, I can do it on Lineage just fine. And like I said, I've been using Lineage as my daily driver now for about a year. I'm really looking forward to switching to a Linux distro for my mobile, but it's pretty clear that's going to take a while, because these aren't ready. Not yet, at least. I mean, they are stable enough to use as a daily driver, but I think UB ports is the best for now. But like I've mentioned to a lot of developers on Twitter, back when PinePhone was announced, if you make an application for Linux on, this, your PC, your laptop, whatever, PC basically, then you need to make it available for mobile Linux. And Vivaldi said, well, we already have an Android. And so fuck Vivaldi. Because I'm not switching to Android, I'm switching to Linux. And I would like to use your browser on mobile Linux. I mean, you already have, a mobile fucking thing, I'm well aware. But could you make that mobile available for Linux? Is basically what I was asking. And they honestly don't give a shit. So it's clear there's going to be an uphill battle trying to get people to support Linux on phones. It's going well, surprisingly, but considering how much support there is in this industry for Linux, that's not that surprising to me. I thought it was going to be more difficult, but the amount of shit they've gotten done in the past couple of years is amazing. But I would like to see it get better. And at the end of the day, that's all we can do is hope for, because, yeah, sure, Lineage works, but, you have to hunt down what phones it's available for. In terms of UB ports, I mean, the phone here that supports it the best is a OnePlus One. It's old as shit. And, then you have Sailfish, which isn't even available in the States. So, there's a lot of privacy concerns with mobile phones, and there's really right now no clear way to fix it completely, other than custom Android ROMs, and it's kind of sad, but it's getting better, and I'm hoping it gets within the next couple of years. It really changes enough to where I can really switch to either UB ports or Phosh. Phosh is mobile Debian. I think that would be what I'd switch to over UB ports, honestly. So I'm going to wrap this video up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.